What happens when you disobey God? Let's talk about it. Hey, Entre leaders. Happy Monday. And welcome back to my channel. If you are tuning in on YouTube, and for those of you who are behind the scenes on Instagram, let me say thank you so much for tuning in. First of all, for those of you who do not know who I am, hello there. Welcome to Dr. Charity TV. My name is Dr. Charity C. Campbell, better known as Dr. C. And I am a doctor of management, a multi-passionate entrepreneur, an organization and leadership specialist. And I love helping millennial kingdom creatives unlock their potential through the power of prayer, mindset shifts, and online business management practices. And today we're talking about something that I kind of battled back and forth with whether or not I was going to talk about this. To be honest, I kind of battled back and forth about whether or not I was going to get on today because I've had quite a weekend. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. I had quite a weekend. And my weekend almost had me to just be like, you know what? I'm gonna stay in bed today. I'm gonna cancel my class. The semester has begun, and I'm just like, I think I'm gonna cancel. I'm gonna chill out. And one thing that I kept hearing over and over and over in my head over the past couple of days is that, sorry, but you don't have the luxury of quitting. You don't have the luxury of not showing up. You've already built this expectation. No matter how many people it is, you've built an expectation that you're going to show up, that you're going to be there. You're going to be there to motivate the people on Monday. And so guess what? The expectation has been created, so you got to show up. And so I said, well, dang. Well, darn. I guess I have to, I guess I got to be obedient in this because I don't want to see the ramifications of what would happen if I was not obedient with showing up as I said that I would. And so I'm here. I'm here by the grace of God. And we are going to talk about today what happens when you disobey God. What happens when you disobey God? Now, for those of you who are completely new to DCTV, I am a kingdom millennial. And so I love to use on my live streams, I love to use scriptures and sometimes motivational quotes. But today in particular, we are going to the book of Jonah. We're going to go to the book of Jonah, and we're going to talk about a brother that many of y'all know about already. Some of you may have never heard of the story of Jonah. So, I got my Bible here with us. We're going to dig in deep a little bit today. Okay. So in the book of Jonah, Jonah has this entire book dedicated to his disobedience, basically. Okay. What happens is Jonah is a prophet. Jonah is a man of God, and God tells him to go to a certain place, to a land named Nineveh. My mic got unplugged. Jonah wasn't feeling it. Okay. Jonah was like, can't you ask me to go somewhere else, Lord? Because all these places in the land, you're going to ask me to go to Nineveh? Why? You don't believe me? Let me read it. I'm going to read the Good News translation because that's the version of the Bible that I've been reading this year. I started a thing last year where I started reading the Bible in different translations, like dedicating a translation each year. And so this one is the Good News translation. I like it. So I'm going to read it to you. Okay. All right, here we go. One day the Lord spoke to Jonah, son of Amittai. He said, go to Nineveh, that great city. This is the Lord talking to Jonah, right? Go to Nineveh, that great city, and speak out against it. Now, I'm aware of how wicked the people are. And Jonah, however, Jonah was real ballsy here, okay? Jonah went the opposite direction. in order to get away from God. Jonah went in the opposite direction to get away from what the Lord was telling him to do. He went to Joppa. Now, I don't know about you, but Joppa don't sound like Nineveh, okay? He went to Joppa where he found a ship that was about to go to Spain. So he paid money. Y'all, Jonah paid money to go the opposite direction of where God was telling him to. Okay, here we go. And he went aboard with the crew to sail to Spain where he would be away from the Lord. He was like, look, the Lord telling me to go to Nineveh. The Lord must be in Nineveh. I'm going to go to Joppa. He's not going to find me there. We're going to be good. But in verse 4, y'all, this is just that all of that happened in the first 3 verses of the book of Jonah. Okay, chapter 1, the first 3 verses. Here we go into the 4th verse. But the Lord sent a strong wind on the sea. Jonah just got on the ship, right? He sent a strong wind on the sea, and the storm was so violent that the ship was in danger of breaking up. Their ship was about to be destroyed because of the strong wind and the storms that God sent. Now, the sailors, these poor little innocent people, the sailors were so terrified, and they cried out for help, each one to his own God. Then, in order to lessen the danger, they started throwing stuff overboard. They was throwing cargo overboard. Meanwhile, Jonah and his little disobedient tail, he went below. And he was lying in the ship's hold, and he was asleep. Jonah was like, look, this y'all problem, not mine. I'm going to sleep. Jonah was in there chilling, sleeping during the storm that he caused. Whew. Let me try not to get too ahead of myself, okay? So then the captain found Jonah sleeping. The captain found Jonah sleeping. And he was like, how can you sleep through this? What are you doing asleep? Get up and pray to your God for help. Maybe he will feel sorry for us and spare our lives. And the sailors said to each other, why don't we just draw lots? That means let's choose and find out which one of us is to blame for getting us into this danger. And they did so. And Jonah's name was drawn. Can you imagine Jonah sitting up there drawing a lot? He was sleeping and chilling. Everybody else is panicking, and Jonah is chilling in the chaos that he caused. Okay. And he draws his name, and he's like, it's me. It me. Everybody else is looking at him like, we up here praying to our gods, and you down there asleep, and it's your fault. Okay. So then after they draw names and his name was drawn, they said to him, okay, you better tell us what's going on. What are you doing here? What country do you come from? They are interrogating Jonah, right? They're like, what's your nationality? And he's like, I'm a Hebrew. I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made land and sea. And Jonah went on to tell them, Jonah confesses at this point, okay? Jonah confesses and tells them that he was running away from the Lord, which is why he ain't prayed to him and why he ain't prayed to him and ask him what to do, because Jonah already knew. Jonah was like, I'm not going to ask the Lord why to come and save. I know what's going on. This is Jonah. Okay. And so then the sailors were terrified even more. And they said to him, that was an awful thing to do. Bruh, the storm is getting worse the entire time. And it's all because of you. What should we do to stop the storm? So they're asking Jonah, the person who caused the storm, what should we do to stop the storm? And so Jonah answered, okay, well, just throw me into the sea. Jonah was like, I would rather drown. I would rather die or try to swim than to go to Nineveh. I would rather do something other than go to Nineveh. So he was like, throw me into the sea and it'll calm down. It's all my fault. So, I'm the reason why you are caught in this storm. I'm the reason why you are caught in this storm. And so instead of listening to Jonah, the sailors are like, no, we're not finna throw him overboard. We're not going to we're not going to be the reason why he dies. So instead of throwing Jonah overboard, what they do is they try to get the ship to the shore. They still try. They're like, no, we can make it. We can make it. They're rowing with all their might. They're doing everything they can. And finally, it gets worse. Finally, it gets worse. And the storm just continues to get worse, and the ship is going nowhere. The storm is getting worse, and the ship is going nowhere. So then they cry out to the Lord. Now, first, you remember in the beginning, they were crying out to their gods. Each one was crying out to their God. Now they're crying out to Jonah's God. Now they're crying out to the Lord. And so they said, "Oh Lord, we pray, don't punish us. We don't even know you like that. Like, like you're not even our God. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even know you like that. Don't punish us for something that your boy did. It's your boy. We don't even know him. He just paid us money to take us to Spain." This is what they're saying, right? And so they pray and they say, "Please don't punish us with death for taking this man's life. He's the one who told us to throw him overboard. Don't punish us." So they picked up Jonah and they threw him into the sea. And then immediately, the storm calmed down. This made the sailors so afraid of the Lord that they offered a sacrifice and promised to serve him. Now, that right there was probably one of the best things that came out of Jonah's disobedience. He had new converts. Jonah's disobedience had new converts to come into the ministry, okay, to come to the Lord because of his disobedience. He showed the power of God. He showed God's hands through God's hand through his disobedience. But so went on ahead, threw him overboard, and the Lord commanded. See, Jonah didn't know what was going to happen. I imagine Jonah was probably hoping that he was going to die. Jonah would rather die than go to Nineveh. Jonah would have rather died than to go to the place that God called him to. But the Lord was like, "Nah, you ain't getting out that easy, pimping. You ain't getting out that easy." The Lord commanded a large fish, we call it a whale, to swallow Jonah. Not chew him, not digest him, just swallow him. And he was inside the big fish for 3 days and 3 nights. That is all just chapter 1. When you go to chapter 2, so that's talking about Jonah's disobedience, right? That's talking about Jonah's disobedience. When you get into chapter 2, then, you know, because Jonah was sitting up in there in some nasty stuff, man. Jonah was sitting up in there in gunk. Okay, you talking about sitting in the belly of a whale? You know what's in the belly? All the intestines, and I mean, I don't care what, you know, what pictures and stuff try to show you. It's not just empty and hollow in a whale's belly. It's not just empty like all of this space. Oh, we can camp out. No, you got intestines, you got ribs, you got all of it, you got bones. I mean, you got some stuff in there. You got smells. Jonah was up in there for 3 days and 3 nights. And it was in this place of his disobedience, which even God still allowed him to be covered. I mean, think about it. He was covered. Okay. He was disobedient, but God still allowed him to be covered and protected long enough to get his head straight, long enough to get himself together. In Jonah chapter 2, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I am going to tell you in Jonah chapter 2, what happens. Jonah, from deep inside the fish, begins to pray to the Lord. And he said, "In my distress, O Lord." Now Jonah want to be distressed. He says, "In my distress, O Lord, I called to you and you answered me. From deep in the world of the dead, I cried for help and you heard me." And Jonah begins to go through all of these things, talking about why he was wrong and how God still heard him and God still loved him and listened to him. And how when he felt himself slipping away, God pulled him back in. And then he goes from this very elaborate apology to praises. He goes to saying, "But I will sing praises to you. I know I caused this. And I know you put me in this situation to get my attention, but I choose to still praise you." This is what Jonah was saying up in the belly of the whale. He's like, "And I'm going to offer you a sacrifice." Now, I don't know if it's going to be one of these little fish that come up in this whale's belly. I don't know how I'm going to sacrifice it, when the sacrifice is coming, but it's coming, and I'm going to give that sacrifice to you. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that then after Jonah goes through all of this stuff and he repents and he asks God for forgiveness and he promises God that he is going to that he's going to sacrifice and he's going to give him this and he's going to give him that. He promises all of these things. That's when the Lord says, okay, he learned his lesson. And the Lord ordered the fish to spit out Jonah up onto a beach. And it did. Now he could have spit him anywhere, but God allowed him to spit him out onto dry land. Okay. He could have spit him out anywhere. And then after that, then Jonah was like, all right, let me go ahead and do the thing that I don't want to do. Okay. Let me go ahead and just do what I don't want to do. Get that on out the way, because clearly, if I don't do what God told me to do, I'm going to be in some serious trouble. Now, here is the thing, because we're talking about what happens when you disobey God. Obviously, some of the things that happen, first of all, is you got to know ask yourself, how do I know when I'm disobeying God? You know when you're disobeying God when you are doing a couple of things. First of all, when you are being selfish, okay? When you're being selfish, when you're being hard-hearted, if God is telling you to do something, but you are thinking about how it will affect you only. God, I ain't really ready to do that because I don't want to. I don't really want to do that. I'm still, I'm young. I got things I want to do. I have goals. I have dreams. And if I do what I think you're telling me to do, I'm not going to be really fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm going to be fulfilled because it ain't what I want to do. That's what you want me to do. So let me just wait. My former pastor used to say all the time, partial obedience is still disobedience. Partially obeying is still completely disobeying. How do I know? Honey, let me tell you something. You might as well call me Jonisha. That can be my name. You can call me Jonya, whatever you want to call me. But the present day female version of Jonah, minus the whole whale and all of that stuff, Lord, because, we can't. Okay. You can't get whale smell out your hair. I'm not trying to deal with that. But call me Jonisha if you want to, because clearly, the Lord has been telling me for a while. I knew when I moved to China that I was only going to be in China for about 3 to 5 years, max. Now, after China, I was in China for 5 years. After China, I thought that, hey, I'm still going to just, kind of figure out where to go next. We're just going to keep going and see what happens. Knowing that at some point in time, don't be over here laughing at me on YouTube, knowing at some point in time, I would need to come back to the States. No, I'm not going back to Nineveh at this time, because Nineveh ain't got nothing for me. Now, don't get me wrong. My family's in Nineveh. My blood. I love my blood. My family's in Nineveh. I do have people that I love in Nineveh, present day America. Not really, but that's what I'm calling it. But I ain't really feeling that in my spirit. So I'm just going to come over here to the Philippines real quick. Y'all, I had no idea. Now, the Philippines is still a developing country, but it is beautiful. It has beautiful people, all that stuff like that. But y'all, let me tell you something about the Philippines. I did not know that the Philippines is notorious for typhoons. What is a typhoon? A storm you don't even want to be a part of. I mean, you're talking about overtaking the whole city where power gets knocked out for months at a time. I met a friend. Here. She's Filipino. And she was explaining to me how these typhoons work. And she looked at me. She said, you didn't know about this? I said, not at all. In my research before coming here, I knew, y'all, I'm being honest with y'all, okay? We're just going to talk about it. In my research, I knew that it's cheaper to live here. So that means that, hey, with the amount of money that I make, I could actually save. This could be really good for me financially. This could be good for me. Had no idea that they be having all types of storms and earthquakes, by the way. And the season for these storms is right around now. I said, you have got to be kidding me. And so in my mind, I'm like, but God told me to come here because he brought this little Filipino girl into my life. And, like he brought her into my life at the right time. So that was a sign for me to come here, because it sure wasn't me going back to Nineveh. It sure wasn't me going back to the States. Not at this time. Come, I still have aspirations of traveling. I still have all of these things that I want to do, not because I want to be a travel influencer, but because I was born a global leader and I want to continue to lead from all around the world. This is me talking to you as I'm telling God, right? This is me saying all of these things. And I'm like, nah, I'm not ready yet. Because I know that when I go back to Nineveh, or when I go to America, I know that there are certain obligations, there are certain ministry obligations that I'm going to be required to do. I'm going to be required to walk in. And I'm just really, really, really not ready for that. You feel me? I'm not really ready for that. I wanna live my life a little bit more. Okay. Now, I have my own version of ministry that I do. When I do all of my stuff, everything that I do has a part of ministry, but it still isn't the type of ministry, the exact, there's more to it than just what I'm doing. But for me, I just been like, nah, I'm okay. Let me tell you something. When you are disobeying God, when, first thing, selfish. You hear me, Instagram fam? You hear me, YouTube? You hear me watching the replay? When you're being selfish, you're only thinking about how it's going to affect you. Okay? Y'all hear me? How it's going to affect you. You're hard-hearted. The thing that God tells you to do, it creates you're hard-hearted towards it. And the thing is, it ain't like it was all bad. It ain't like, Nineveh had some people. I'm gonna put my Bible over here for a little bit. Yeah, Nineveh had some stuff that was going wrong with it and everything. However, it would have still been okay. Like Jonah, he didn't tell you had to go and stay in Nineveh forever. He just gave you an assignment for Nineveh. When the assignment is over, then you're free to do your own thing if God allows. That's the thing. We get so caught up in the whole, if I go here, I'm going to be stuck there forever. Nobody said it's forever. When nobody said that me going back to the States would be me stuck there forever. It's me going to complete whatever part of the assignment of my life that I'm supposed to complete. That's what it's supposed to do for that season, for that time. But because I had a hard heart, God will create some storms that hit your life that will not only soften your heart, but soften your situation. He will come and he will harden your situation so that it won't, succeed, but he will soften your heart in the process. Now, here's the thing. Jonah was selfish. He was like, I'm not going to Nineveh. Forget them people in Nineveh. They ain't done. What has Nineveh ever done for me? This was Jonah, right? He's like, nope, I'd rather go to Spain. Let me go ahead and get on this ship. And the thing is that we're going to talk about the consequences in a moment. Okay. We're going to talk about the consequences of disobeying God in a moment, but we're talking about how you know when you are disobeying God. It's because it looks like from the outside, it looks like things are okay. But there's all of this. The consequences are brewing. The consequences are stirring. And so the next question is, what are the consequences of disobeying God? The first thing is it creates storms in your life. We see that from him being in the boat. Okay. We see that from him being in the boat. It creates storms in your life that, number two, affects others. Here we got these innocent men on the boat, these innocent sailors. They don't know Jonah. And they don't know Jonah because after they cast lots and they find out that Jonah is the problem, they start interrogating him. Where are you from? Who are your mom and them? Why are you here? Where are you going? What have you done? They are drilling him. They're drilling him like, bruh, why you causing all of this to happen to us? We were just on our merry way sailing. And now, because of you and your disobedience, we in trouble. We all about to die because of you. And so that's why Jonah was like, you know what? Just go ahead and throw me overboard. Just get rid of me and your problem will go away. And they're like, nah, because if we get rid of you, That's murder. And then your Lord is going to kill us for killing you. You made it bad for us in all types of situations. And Jonah's like, just throw me overboard. The innocent people who were already set on their path in life now has also become affected by the storm that his disobedience created. That's what happens when we disobey God. Our disobedience not only creates a storm in our lives, but for those who are now connected to us. And it gets you wondering, what happened, Lord? All because I said not now? Is this what's happening because I said not now? Like, is this the way you want to act? Is this the tantrum that you want to throw storms at me because I said not now? And the thing is, when these storms are created like that, when it affects other people and it shows you that you're being selfish, it brings you to your knees. I mean, it brings you to your knees in a way to where, I mean, you're crying like you just got beat. You're crying. You're just like, God, I don't know what's going on. I thought you said this and that. And God's sitting there looking at you like, now you know good and well. Woo! God just sitting there looking at you like, now you know good and well. You know you ain't think that I said that because you know I told you what to do at this point. You thought that I was just going to give you a pass to do whatever it is you want to do because you told me later. Later, when God tells you now, it's still disobedience. So the thing is, when you think, and there are so many other consequences, IG fam, there are so many other consequences that happen when you disobey God. There are so many other consequences, YouTube, that happen when you disobey God. You start losing things. You start, oh my God. Now, let me tell you, storms are not just the type of storms that come when rain and stuff hit. No, honey, you go through health storms in your body. You go through health problems and issues. You go through financial storms to where you think that you are doing the right thing and you're spending money, and now you're actually wasting money. Money is just like it says in the Old Testament, you're putting money in a bag with holes. It means that you think you're saving something, you're saving, or you're actually making money, gaining money, and stuff is just dropping out. I mean, you're losing when you thought you should be winning. It's because you've positioned yourself, even with partial obedience. Yeah, you partially said yes to God, but you still said no to the overall thing that he asked you to do. That's still total disobedience. And so so that's a financial storm. He also brings the enemy. Well, the enemy will sneak in there and be like, well, let me get some of this too. Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, okay, now I know this part is God, but the enemy is up in here too, because the enemy is like, oh, I see a vulnerability. Let me attack him. Oh, let me get her right now, so that they are confused and they don't know which is God and which is me. This is the perfect opportunity to get in there and jack some stuff up in their lives. So the enemy gets in and he's like, oh, we about to have a field day because you don't know what's going on. And really, I don't care what's going on. I just see an opportunity to attack you and to get you to be really, really, really angry with God and messed up. And truthfully, it's your fault because you're the one who disobeyed. I just want in. I just want in on the torture. I just want in on making you feel a certain way. And so it brings that type of mental anguish as a storm. It brings relational storms. It could bring loss. So when you disobey God, I mean, the consequences are I won't say endless, but it's plentiful. Let's put it that way. The consequences are plentiful. When you willingly choose to run like Jonah did. It didn't even say that Jonah walked away. It said he ran away. Jonah was like, bye. Jonah was gone, okay? It said he ran away, hopped on the first thing smoking to Spain so he could get away. He was like, I'm going to Joppa. Forget Nineveh. I'm going to Joppa and let me see what I can do over there. That's what he did. And as a result, he caused a storm to not only hit his life, but the lives of those around him. Now, something that did come good out of this storm was those souls being saved. See, I think think most of the time we forget about the good that also comes out of the storm, because not only did those people, those sailors, come to Christ, but now Jonah had some time to just sit back and reflect on his idiocy. Jonah had time to sit back and reflect in the belly of the whale, in the belly of still protection, the covering of God. He had time to sit and really say, okay, is it really that important to you, God? Is me going to Nineveh really that important that you had to destroy my plans, my trip? Is it really that important? I mean, and he goes down. This is in chapter 2. He goes down the list of everything that has happened. And at the end, he flips it into praise and then decides, I'm still going to sacrifice to you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And he's like, fine, I'll do it. Whatever. Let's go. I'm not saying Jonah may have had the best attitude about it, because I'm going to tell you, I don't have the best attitude right now. I don't have the best attitude right now about God saying, I need you in the States. Why? You know how many people living in America? You know how many people doing things in ministry? You know how many people doing things in education? It's a whole huge world out here. And I haven't even conquered a fourth of it. I'm still trying to get, but you want me, okay. And then I had to think about it. But is it really about you right now? I have parents who are getting older in age. I think I pray for my parents every day. I'd be like, Lord, let my parents live to be like really, really, really old. Because they're not really old now. I mean, they're in their 60s and they be talking about how their bones and stuff aching. And I mean, I get that. Shoot, my bones be aching when I work out. I'm ignorant. Excuse that. My bones be aching when I work out. But no, I mean, you can even see it like physically. Like, yes, you are, they're getting older in age. And suppose I'm supposed to be around for that. Suppose there are things that they have going on in ministry where they're just like, Lord, I just wish that I had somebody to pass the torch to. I just wish that I had somebody that I could, I wish that my daughter, because I'm their only daughter, I wish that my daughter was here so that she could be able to do this. And I wish, that her family was here so I could do this and I could do that and I could take a step back and relax. You never know. But you're so busy thinking about how it's going to affect you. And so I said, God, is it forever? Because, and then God started showing me all of my friends in ministry, couples in ministry, who they were abroad. The pandemic happened and now they have moved back to the States. I have 3 couples at the moment, but I think one couple is actually about to return to the country I met them in. But I have 3 couples at the moment who they're in the States. And even with all of this, like even in the transition, they're still prospering because they simply obey the voice of God. Reluctantly at first. I mean, of course, you're uprooting us from where we decided to settle. And now you're asking us to be back in the States. And we left the States for a reason. We left the States for a reason. And so I started looking at that and I'm like, okay, God. Okay. If you can do it for them, I'm sure you can do it for us. I'm sure you can do it for me. So whatever it is, fine. No, I'm not being funny. I'm just being honest. Fine. Let's see. What will it look like? And then please, could you give me permission to leave America again when I'm ready? Because I really don't want to be in America right now. I really don't want to go back to America right now. But if all of these things are happening because you're trying to tell me that what you have for me is in America right now, then fine. I'll stop traveling the world. I'll go back to America. Now, I'm telling you, though, I'm sitting here like Jonah in the belly of the whale. Jonah sitting there like, bruh, you got me sitting in some stinking situation right now just because I didn't want to go to Nineveh. Okay, fine. Fine. Fine, I'll go. But the thing is, after you've lost so much because of the storms that hit, now you're like, well, shoot, now we got to figure out how you're going to make this one work. Now we got to figure out how we going to get back there. Huh? How are we going to go from where we are to where you want us to be? And this is the thing when I said it brings you to your knees, because it really makes you question and ask God, why is all of this happening when you already know? And another thing, when you know you're disobeying God is when you ask God to show you guidance or give you instructions and you don't hear anything. And God is like, why am I going to tell you what I already told you again? You wrote it down the last 500 times I told you. You talking about something God said this, in a few years, period. Why are you asking me to show you what I've already told you time and time again? Why? What's the purpose? And so now you out here crying, asking me, what should I do, when I have sent, counselors, I've sent parents, I have sent loved ones, I've sent friends to tell you, I've sent ministry friends to tell you in this season of life where you should be, like, or what you should be doing. And you're still asking me. You ain't hear my voice from them. So if you're not listening to them, what makes you think you're going to listen to me? I already told you. And then I sent them to tell you again. And so at this point, it's like, okay, God, all right, let's just see what total obedience looks like. Let's just see what will happen. Thankfully, the year is not over yet. Thankfully, I can still recover 2022. I can still recover the rest of the year. Thank you for wisdom after the storm. But thank you for wisdom. All right, so what we finna look like? What is it about to look like? How are you going to do this? Because I'm a strategist, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I'm a strategist. And every single time something happens, y'all, the first thing I'm doing is, okay, how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to make this work? God, what is it? I'm a strategist. That's just how I am. I like to plan things, all of that. All of that. So listen. I said, all right, God, get me back to the States, however you choose. Because y'all, it's some stuff now. When I come back to the States, it's a couple bombs gonna be dropped on y'all. I'm just letting you know. So just you be prepared. Okay. I'm out here for a reason. Okay. I'm not in the States for a reason. So y'all it's gonna be a couple bombs that's dropped on y'all when I get there. I'm just letting y'all know. When I get there, I don't know. But it'll be before the end of the year. So hey, it is what it is. So how can you avoid disobeying God? This is my last, the last point that I want to make. How can you avoid disobeying God? Actually take time to listen to the counsel that he brings in your life. Don't just take a mental note of it and be like, and then put it in the back burner and be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna come back to it when I feel the time is right. No, take inventory. Take inventory of take inventory of the counsel, the godly counsel, and the advice that is given. Also, take inventory of how you really feel. Do you have peace? Total peace? Or are you having like that type of peace? Because look, it can be a little confusing, because it seemed like Jonah had peace down there because he was sleeping, sound asleep during the storm, right? Sound asleep during the storm. Brad was knocked out. He was probably snoring. He was having a good, and the whole thing was rocking. The whole boat was rocking. And the captain came down there and was like, are you kidding me? Are you really sleeping through this? Jonah may have had peace with his sleep, but did he really have peace within his spirit? There was something that happened along the way. Something that happened along the way that had to make Jonah say, okay, you know what? I'm the problem. Just throw me overboard. How can you avoid disobeying God? Make sure that you honor the voices that he places in your life. Make sure that you take inventory of your feelings. If you, and also too, if you notice that you have like a bit of animosity, or like your heart is hardened but if somebody mentions the place or mentions the thing that you are like disobeying God, because I remember quite often, especially this year, anytime anyone would mention going back to the States, my heart was hard about it. Why? I was already there during the pandemic. I ain't even want to be there during the pandemic. Why? It's not that I don't love my country. I do love my country. I just feel like there's still I was stuck in my country for 12 years without the ability to travel to other places, and I really, really wanted to. I know timing is everything. I really, really wanted to travel, but I couldn't. So when I got my foot out the door, my foot and everything else followed. My foot and everything else followed it. It's like, time to go. But you can avoid disobeying God by actually taking inventory. And remember, if you are partly obeying, partial obedience is still total disobedience. It's still if you aren't doing everything that God told you to do, you're only doing a little bit of it. Yes, and it seems like you're being blessed, but you were like, well, God must be pleased because he's blessing me over here. Honey, you keep living. Something's going to happen to show you that God is like, look, time right here is wasting. You're wasting time because you have not moved in the direction that I told you to move in. And so since you haven't budged, or since you did, you moved in the wrong direction. Now I gotta call some storms. I gotta shake up some things in your life because you're not doing all you're supposed to do. And time is of the essence. I need you positioned. What was happening with Queen Esther when her uncle came to her? Mordecai was like, how you know that you ain't up in this here queen position for such a time as this? Huh? How you know that all that's happening with you right now isn't happening because you're in a specific time frame, a specific window of where you need to be doing what you got to do? How you know that? And so timing is so important. We say timing is everything. Timing is so important. Your obedience or lack thereof is connected to some time sequence, something that's supposed to be happening. Let me tell you something. Y'all think obedience, y'all want to talk about me? Because I'm talking about me, but your obedience or lack thereof affects you too. God told you to work out. You ain't been working out. Now you sitting over there, and when you breathe, you sound like you got asthma. You ain't never had asthma a day in your life. Huh? Y'all want to go there. Don't just let this be about me, okay? God told you to go apologize to that sister, to that brother, ask for forgiveness, and you ain't did it yet because you feel like they deserved it, or because see, y'all don't look at me and Jonah with the stank face, because I could come at y'all. God told you to stop eating late at night. You got heartburn when you wake up, huh? You're getting your insides all fatty and all messed up. God told you to write that book. You ain't do it yet. Now you got arthritis in your fingers. No. God told you to go be nice to your neighbor, huh? And now there's some dissension. I mean, y'all, listen. We can go all day. God told you to go to this other city. God told you to go to this. It's not always about location. Sometimes it's just about an action or a thought. Okay, God told you to apply for this job. You ain't do it yet. And now you're still complaining about what you're making on your current level because you just didn't listen or obey. Okay, listen. God told you to open up that business, but you were like, I don't know where the funds is going to come from. I don't know how to do this and do that. You give God all of these excuses, and he like, I mean, you can continue to stay where you are, but don't ask me for a blessing. Don't ask me to bless where you are. You know, churchy people like to make stuff rhyme. They be like, don't ask me to bless your mess. You know, churchy people, bless your mess. Don't ask me for another direction when I've already given you the first one. So now, since you took a detour, come on, Jonah. Since you took a detour because you were on your way to Joppa, which is the opposite direction of Nineveh, by the way. Now I got to come in and I got to help you to go from going in the direction of Joppa. Now I got to reroute you so I can get you to where you need to be in Nineveh. Listen, disobedience is expensive. Disobedience is costly. Jonah lost money. Y'all not feeling this. When I tell y'all this modern day Jonisha is telling you how brother Jonah was feeling. Jonah lost money. Joni. Yeah, Joni, that's my brother. Jonah paid all of this money to go to Spain. And he didn't even get to the destination. Oh, y'all, one day in a book, I'm gonna tell y'all why this is so relevant to my life. Jonah paid all his money. He lost his money. They won't give him his money back. They like, I'm sorry, we can't book another ship for you. I'm sorry, we can't. You lost your money. First of all, you almost killed us. You almost had us jacked up for you being on this hit thing. You ain't getting your money back. You're gonna have to find another way. You're not getting your money back. You're gonna have to find another way. Jonah lost because he disobeyed. And God sent me here through my own personal experiences and through Jonah's experiences to tell you that if you do not fully obey, if you don't listen to the counsel, if you don't listen to the advice, and counsel can come from parents, family, pastors, employers, business partners, spouses, okay? It can come from all of those. And it can also come from God directly himself. When you do not obey 100%, you are sure to find yourself in some type of chaotic storm that will not only affect innocent people, affect others, but it will also bring you to your knees and ask God, what am I supposed to do? How do I get out of this? Please help me. Please help me. Help me get out of this. I mean, it's a sticky situation, but that's why he sent me here to you this day, so that you can understand the ramifications of disobeying the voice of God, disobeying the direction of God, disobeying the call of God, and not fully being in his will, his perfect will, not the permissive will, but the perfect will. Can I pray for you? Father, in the name of Jesus, I want to thank you so much for this beautiful soul who is watching right now. They may find themselves in similar situations to Jonah and myself, to where we chose to go in an opposite direction. I mean, a totally opposite direction than the way that you asked us to. And Father, they may not have come out of their storm yet. They may be sitting in the bottom of a rocky boat right now, a rocky situation, trying to sleep, but realizing that they have no peace, realizing that they have all of this confusion. They have a hard heart and a broken heart. They're just dealing with so much. And I pray, Father, that you would strengthen them. I pray that you would give them the wisdom, the knowledge, the insight, and the strategy to go from where they are to be rerouted back to the path of obedience. I pray, Father, that you would have mercy. Have mercy, Father. Have compassion. Once they make up their minds, God, once they put in their hearts that they're going to obey you and move forward with your direction, the instruction that you've given them, I pray, Father, that all the wrinkles will be ironed out, and that you would help the process move expeditiously for them. God, if it's with a job, or if it's with a business, or if it's with a music career, or if it's whatever it is, regardless of what it is, I pray, Father, that you would have your way and intervene. God, their hearts are turning back to you from a no to a yes. And I thank you so much, Father, for it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And I will see you all next week. October. Yes, I will see you all next week. And just obey.